Hey everybody, it's GobletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing a traditional draft of Dominaria United, getting some best of 3 draft practice in for the potential Arena Open, if we can day 2 that next weekend. So without further ado, let's take a peek at our pack 1, see what we want to scoop up. I like Defiler of Dreams a lot as a nice blue bomb that draws us cards as we cast additional blue permanents. Tachiova is a really good green-blue bomb. Late game in these domain rampy strategies, Prayer of Binding is a very efficient removal that is very easy to splash, and those are definitely my top 3 out of this pack. I think we could go with any of them and be pretty happy with them. I'm going to go with the Defiler of Dreams here. I don't know if I would go for that if I was trying to be as competitive as possible. I might just go for Tachiova if I'm strictly trying to win, but I've been drafting a whole lot of domain, and I would like to try to get a wider variety of archetypes, and Defiler of Dreams, more likely we get to end up in some kind of blue-red, blue-black, blue-white, any 2-color build instead of some gigantic domainy nonsense that Tachiova always ends up doing. So, pick 2 now. We have Ratadrabic of Urborg, which doesn't really do anything unless you have a lot of legendaries, which is pretty unlikely. Bunch of solid black cards, some of my favorites being Tribute to Urborg is very efficient removal, Cult Conscript as a card that can come back pretty often. This card's really good in like white-black, not super sure about it in blue-black. I definitely like Tribute to Urborg in blue-black quite a bit though, so I think I'm going to go with that. I'm going to roll with that there. Phyrexian Espionage would be another pretty solid pick, and that we could play even if we're still just blue and some other color, but Tribute, great cheap removal. I think it's just pretty important to have cards like that. And luckily for us, we can just keep heading in the black direction, getting past a Knight of Dusk's Shadow, a 2-mana 2/2 menace. Your opponents can't gain life, and you can buff it up for only 2 mana. Very nice card. Definitely going to be my pick here. There are other pretty solid cards in here. Legomos and Flowstone Infusion, pretty great red cards. Bite Down, solid green one. We're going to go with the Knight of Dusk's Shadow. Another Tribute to Urborg seems awesome. Blue-black is going to have a little bit of self-mill potentially out of the black cards, and the blue cards care about having a lot of instants and sorceries in your graveyard, so Tribute to Urborg is getting a benefit off of something we're already trying to do to help cast, Tolarian Serpents and stuff like that anyway, so I just really like Tribute to Urborg in this archetype to where I'll take it over a Battlewing Mystic, which would be good in here as well. A 2-mana 2/1 flyer is nothing to scoff at, and if we pick up any random red duels, we could potentially kick this sometimes, which is just pretty big upside, but I'm just going to take another Tribute to Urborg. Tons of duels in these packs that we've seen, which is pretty wild. I mean, we could take Geothermal Bog for potentially splashing in some red, but currently no reason to do that. Or Sunlit March to splash in some white. Aggressive Sabotage is fine. Shore Up is fine. Shore Up's actually pretty great. Especially trying to protect something like a Knight of Dusk Shadow or Defiler of Dreams. Or there's Battlewing Mystic again. We have 2 creatures and 2 non-creatures already. I think I want a few more creatures for now. I'll go for the Battlewing Mystic, see if we can start picking up, because there's lands just flying around everywhere. We can probably get some red sources without too much difficulty to potentially play that kicker. Now we have a Soaring Drake, nice cheap flyer, a Shore Up for good protection, Phyrexian Espionage for some card advantage. Joint Exploration is fine if you have a ton of Essence Scatters and you want something to hold up at instant speed. If you're not casting Essence Scatter, I think I'll take the Soaring Drake. Let's just get a really nice evasive deck going here. We could have everything being flying or menace so far. Just a lot of great unblockable creatures, and shore ups have been going pretty late in most of the drafts I've been in, so hopefully we can get those as kind of really late in the pack sort of picks. This pack has absolutely nothing for us. I guess we're just taking a Tide Turner since it's on color, but it's not an exciting card. Nothing off color is something I'd want to splash. Yeah, we'll just take a Tide Turner. Sacred Peaks here, but I have no red or white, but still not likely to be that happy with a Gibbering Barricade or a Pixie Illusionist. We are pretty far from trying to do domain things. But I guess that's all that Sacred Peaks would do also. I guess we could just take the barricade. It's kind of weird, but just take it, play a bunch of flyers, and then some barricade on the ground to stop my opponent from hitting us. Don't love the Tide Pool Turtle, just not a great rate for its mana cost as a creature, so I'll take a negate for the sideboard. I don't like main decking that card, but it can definitely come in out of the sideboard. Bone Splinters can be fine. I've yet to see a great spot for Impede Momentum in a blue-black deck, because in blue-black you have so much straight-up removal and counter spells, it's just not worth it. Bone Splinters, probably not worth it either, but we might get some pretty expendable creatures. Now we can play Haunting Figments as well. This kind of adds to our list of just a ton of incredibly hard to block creatures. Again, Sabotage is fine as well. I would probably just sideboard that as well, though. So we'll take the Figments. Don't love the Abomination. Throw it in the sideboard. Take another Figment. We've definitely got the start to a deck here. Definitely need more instants and sorceries now. Although, what we see out of pack 2 is a Phyrexian Rager, excellent common creature, great value play. A Writhing Necromass, which can be quite big later in the game if you have some self-mill to mill some of your own creatures, or if you trade a bunch of early game creatures off. Or we have the Prayer of Binding that we could try to splash in if we get some white sources as pretty nice removal. I already have 2 excellent removal spells. I think I'm going to take Phyrexian Rager here. Definitely want to start taking cards like Shore Up a little more quickly, a little more early in these packs, because what we're really missing out on are instants and sorceries. So I think now we'll take an Impulse for that reason. Although Bortuk Bone Rattle, that is incredibly worth a splash. Even if we can only get like 1 green dual land, Bortuk Bone Rattle is ridiculous. 6 mana for a 4/4 that returns a creature from your graveyard to your hand when it enters the battlefield, or it returns it to the battlefield if you have more land types than that creature's mana value. So Bortuk's just insane. I think I'm going to take Bortuk here and go for that splash. Now I could take a negate for the sideboard, Battle Rage Blessing, or just a Contaminated Aquifer. I'm going to take the Aquifer here, hoping to get more straight up removal like Tribute to Urborg over Tricks. Okay, we've got multiple green lands now to help put Bortuk in, which is excellent. We take one of those, or we take Rager or Lookout. Actually a hard choice, because both Rager and Lookout are more 2-for-1 creatures. Creatures that hit the board, accomplish their job, and draw us a card, which is insane. Talus Lookout draws us the card when it dies, but it's still very good. It's also an evasive threat. Take that green for Bortuk. Kind of want to get my first 4-drop creature here. I'm going to take the Talus Lookout. Okay, now I'll take the green source for Bortuk pretty easily, the Tangled Islet. They can get over Bone Splinters and not much else. Not a huge fan of Sea Scavenger, especially when we have Phyrexian Rager. Take 6 now. Shadow Prophecy's fine instant speed card draw, and I don't have a lot of instants and sorceries right now. So I think I would like to put that in here over a Necromass, because again we have no self-mill for the Necromass. I'll take a Shadow Prophecy. We definitely want more instants and sorceries than we currently have. Now I can take an Impulse. Very nice, cheap bit of card selection. Timely Interference is also fine, or Scorn is also fine, but just like Impulse a lot. It's very efficient. It can even help count as sort of like mana fixing, because it's going to dig you 4 cards deeper to your green source for the Bortuk Bone Rattle. And even if it doesn't hit it in the next 4 cards, it still brought you 4 cards closer to that card, because you've gotten rid of those 4 non-green sources that you would have hit. This is all very filler, very not great. I'll just take a turtle. Okay, Braid's Fright for a turn is fine. Slow little saga here, but a good value one. I think I would rather have Shore Up in this deck. Again, trying to up the instant sorcery count for the Tribute to Urborgs and the Haunting Figments. Another Impulse, nice and late. That's pretty beautiful. Vivisector would be fine, but we've got a lot of 2-drops already. Frightful Return would also be fine. It's a pretty good value play, but the fact that it's not an instant or sorcery is kind of a big bummer when we're running Tribute to Urborg. Not in love with Battle Rage Blessing, but at this rate, it's currently making the cut. Because we still need 5 more cards to have a 23 non-land card deck. Ooh, hoo, hoo. Paid off in pack 3. Vohar Vidalian Desecrator is excellent in this archetype. It's doing exactly what we want it to do. It's letting us draw cards and discard cards to set up our draws. It's also draining our opponent for life every time we discard an instant or sorcery. And we can sacrifice it in the late game to recast an instant or sorcery from our graveyard. So Vohar, a phenomenal card for this deck, and I'm going to scoop that up immediately. We love the Soul Tender, but I doubt that it wheels. This is one of those great self-mill cards to help with your graveyard recursion stuff like Bortuk, help with your cards that care about your count in your graveyard like Tribute to Urborg, but Vohar is just better. Vohar is simply built differently. Ooh, we could just double up on Defiler of Dreams? Well, don't mind if I do. Not much to say about that pick. It's between that and a Tangled Islet mostly. As much as I'd like more ways to splash this Bortuk pretty easily, Defiler is just a heck of a card. Very nice flyer. Now we take an Extinguish the Light, because I am still low on removal. I have 2 Tribute to Urborg and 1 Battle Rage Blessing, so we'll take this Extinguish the Light over the 3rd Impulse. Plus, these impulses have been going pretty late, so we might even be able to get a 3rd impulse anyway. So easy Extinguish the Light there. Check our cleric count real quick. 0 clerics. I regret to inform you, Shadowrite Priest, that you are not going to make the cut, so I'll put another negate in the sideboard, I guess. We could play an inscribed tablet just to also try to dig into the next land, but Impulse is just like a strictly better inscribed tablet. It's the same entry fee of 2 mana, but instead of picking a land out of the top 5, we pick anything out of the top 4. So I think with Impulses, we're not really going to have room for tablet. I'm just going to take negate. Battlefly Swarm can also be fine. It's probably sideboard material as well. You know what? I'll take Battlefly Swarm. I don't know there. I'll definitely take another Shore Up. I'm pretty happy with that too. Definitely over Battle Rage Blessing or Impede Momentum. We now have a 25 card deck with 2 lands, so that is a 23 non-land card deck, exactly where we want it to be. We did wheel an Eerie Soul Tender, which is very nice. Fill our grave for Vohar or Bortuk or Tribute to Urborg, and now when I take this, I get to cut the very filler Tidepool Turtle. Another Eerie Soul Tender. Alright, well, come on in. A little sad to see these without the Tolarian Terrors or Writhing Necromances, but I guess I have one final pack to potentially hit those. We'll see. I'll take this and cut the Gibbering Barricade. Alright, we did not get any Tolarian Terrors or Writhing Necromances, none of the graveyard-specific cost reduction cards, which is sad, because those are the cards that really, really work well with the Soul Tender. It's still fine in this deck, though. We'll take a Soaring Drake now. Probably get rid of this Volsh Tide Turner. Okay. Cult Conscript's actually looking potentially fine in this deck, now that we have 2 Eerie Soul Tenders. No other skeletons in our deck, so it might randomly come back. I mean, 3rd Shore Up, though, with double Defiler. Also pretty cool. I think I'll take the Battle Rage Blessing out. Sea Scavenger I'm not going to play. We'll toss that in the sideboard. I think we just have our deck now. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get anything else. I'm going to rare draft this. Urza assembles the Titans. Abomination for the sideboard. Battle Rage Blessing for the sideboard. And Enthrall to the Pit for the sideboard. And that's our deck. That's 23 non-land cards. 17 lands. We just need to make sure our mana base works out for us. Shouldn't be too difficult. With double Impulse and Shadow Prophecy to help draw. Vohar as well is a pretty nice way to set up your draws. I think we should be able to get the green source off just the triple green for Bortuk. Let's check our color distribution. 14 blue, 10 black, 1 green. Currently sitting at 3 green sources. And then 8 blue and 8 black. Yep. 8-8 splits. I might... I definitely want double black for Extinguish the Light. On 4 every game that I draw that. But I have 3 double blue cards, Defiler of Dreams and Talus Lookout. As well as just having a little bit more blue cards in general. So I could justify running one more blue source here. Cutting down, making it a 9-7 split, 9 blue, 7 black. Kind of want to just leave it as is though. Because again, that double black on Extinguish. It's a pretty important one. But I guess double blue on Defiler is probably the most important thing in the whole deck. One of the biggest win cons. Sure, we'll go 9-7. It's unlikely to punish us that hard because we only have 1 double black card in the whole deck. If we ever draw into it, we have Shadow Prophecy and Double Impulse, potentially trying to dig for that second swamp, or Vohar doing the same. I think we'll do that. I never took a red land for Battling Mystic. I think I just forgot that I had that red kicker. But still, a 2-mana 2/1 flyer looks pretty solid for this deck. These Soul Tenders aren't actually doing all that much anymore. But I don't think we really have any other options that look better than the Soul Tenders. I guess they're getting Defiler of Dreams or Vortex back from our grave for 5 mana. They give us like a late game plan, late game value plan. Yeah, I think I'm running it like this as the starting deck. Alright, here is a look at the deck that we've drafted today. It is going to be a blue-black Flyers deck. We've got a decent amount of removal with Extinguish the Light and Tribute to Urborg to clear the path for our many evasive creatures. We have a Battlewing Mystic, 2 Haunting Figments that can be unblockable, Knight of Dusk Shadow with Menace, 2 Soaring Drakes with Flying, a Talus Lookout with Flying, and then the big bombs, 2 Defiler of Dreams at the top of the curve with Flying that can also draw us cards as we cast our cheaper blue permanent spells. So tons of nice evasive threats here and a few ways to clear the board to get them in. We have several ways to protect them with triple shore up, and if anything does die, we can Bortuk Bone Rattle it back to our hand or Eerie Soul Tender it back to our hand. Then we've also just got some very solid card draw to make sure we're hitting what we need when we need it. We have 1 Shadow Prophecy and 2 Impulse. So really nice, really consistent looking strategy here. Pretty excited to see how it does as we head into the gameplay. Here we are, game 1 on the play. We know that we have 2 lands, both colors, to cast Haunting Figment and Night, and Tribute. I'm going to keep this. We only need to hit 1 land for the whole hand to be playable. And if we don't, we've got options for our first few turns. Cult Conscript from our opponent. That is definitely potentially threatening because that can keep coming back from the graveyard throughout the game. So if our opponent is on white-black, that card can be really, really scary. Or black-red, both of those. A lot of good ways to use this thing. But even any black deck can use like Bone Splinters with it to have it destroy a creature. Alright, opponent drops a Splatter Goblin now. That's going to give something -1/-1 when it dies. Not a big fan of that. We have hit the 3rd land, which is pretty beautiful. I could go ahead and just tribute to Urborg this Splatter Goblin so I don't have to deal with it later, which seems kind of okay to me, because if it dies at a later time, it's going to kill our Haunting Figment or Eerie Soul Tender. So I'll just do this while they're tapped out. Make sure there's no value coming from Splatter Goblin's death. Alright, opponent is on black-red, so probably pretty aggressive. Viashino Branch Rider is the play. Sorry about my chair. It likes to yell at me for moving. But yeah, Viashino Branch Rider, that means definitely very aggressive. Trying to hold back on blocks at all. I could play Figments and hold up Tribute to Urborg. Figment trade into the Branch Rider, that's fine. Knight of Dusk Shadow no longer really racing this board state. Kind of want to play Rager, but then I can't hold up Tribute if something wacky goes on, so I think I'm just going to play Figment and pass. Although they only hit me for 2 next turn because they block Branch Rider. Yeah. This does make it really obvious I'm holding up a Tribute to Urborg. Or maybe I'm playing around Flowstone Infusion to give my Knight +2/-2. Maybe that's why the 2 mana's up. Hammerhand. Shut my Figment's ability to block off. Let's sure counter that. Guess I didn't need to do that, because I'm still not blocking Cult Conscript because now a non-skeleton died under their control, which is awkward. Let's see what we draw off the Rager. Alright, just an island, but this is where we show off the really nice part of Haunting Figment, where it's got that Vigilance, so it still gets to hold up as a blocker here. While slapping my opponent. Writhing Necromass, well, there you go, that's not good. Send in the Cult Conscript. I think I actually trade Rager into that instead of Figments, because Figment can be unblockable at times. Alright, Soul Tender, you need to find us some goodies. Talus Lookout is not bad. Alright, we get to send in with Knight, at least. Keep the pressure on my opponent, and I can double block the Necromass with these two. Still have Soul Tender for value. Suppose if I do that, though, they'll get the Cult Conscript back from grave. Yavimaya Steel Crusher, that's fine. Pass the turn, they do not want to trade. Another land. Triple pump the Knight to make it a 5/5 and kill the Necromass. Unless their last card in hand is Trick. Arena is holding for them for something, and it can't be Cult Conscript because the non-skeleton hasn't died right now. It can't be Steel Crusher because there are no artifacts. I feel like if I go to combat, I might be getting blown out by like a Furious Bellow or something. We might have to just play it slow now. Try to win the top deck war by having more card draw than a black-red deck is going to have. Just need to draw into our card draw. Yeah, it's an Extinguish the Light. Okay, that wouldn't have blown us out, but attacking would not have accomplished anything. I mean, I guess theoretically it would have soaked up all of our mana. But not that there's anything to hold up with that mana anyway. Alright, opponent is definitely ahead now. Yep. That is bad. I was going to say, especially if they start attacking here, they get the lead very quickly. Get that little skeleton back from their grave. We can use Soul Tender now, though. Not that it's massively helpful here. 4, 5, 6, 7, I'll have 8 mana. I can play anything that costs 4 or less and still play the Talus Lookout, so I feel like that's the play, because Lookout gets to trade into one of their attackers and draw me another card. I could take Rager 2 to draw the card immediately. And then I am paying a life for the card. Yikes. Alright, look out. You're gonna have to find us a non-land, please. So we've still got an Impulse, Shadow Prophecy in here. Could help get us out of this. Extinguished Light would be good. Bortuk would be absurd. Bortuk's probably our best out. There's a lot of options that are helpful here in terms of just card advantage. Taking a lot of damage here. Taking 6, going to 4. Well, I guess we're getting a Haunting Figment. See what we draw for turn. Extinguish the Light is interesting. I think I have to extinguish the Kavu while Conscript is still on the board, so they can't return it from graveyard to the battlefield. And then offer the trade of Figment for Conscript. And then we're back in the top deck war. Cult Conscript is really good in this position, though. Because every time that I trade into something, they just get it back. There's a War Brute too now. Opponent is winning the top deck war. I think I just take that now. There's Bortuk. Okay, that could flip things right back around. Have us be in the lead. 3 land types here. Could cast... If I pick up Talus Lookout, I don't have the mana to cast it. It's not going to go straight to board. Tempting as that is. If I pick up the Knight, it goes straight to the board, so I have a 3/3 blocker, potentially. Guess I pick up the Knight. Don't think I take Rager. Feels bold. Go to 4 life. They crew Warbrute. It's a 5 power trampler. I block with Bone Rattle and go to 3. I guess I can afford the life. See if we can draw another creature. Nope. Alright, if our opponent has... Oh, okay, I was going to say they're probably enlisting here, and then if they have instant speed removal, they just win. I guess I can double block with Bone Rattle Rager. That way if they have instant speed removal, I still go to 1 and have another turn here. If I block with just Bone Rattle, they could just extinguish the light and I'm dead. So that's why we'll double block there. And then if they have nothing, it doesn't change anything. I still keep the Rager. Okay. Get them down to 7. What is in their hand? Are they just sandbagging lands? Alright, well. Still doing our thing. They're at 5, we're at 4. Thrill of Possibility, that's a good one. Swamp Pass? They went Swamp main phase 2? Yeah, Swamp Pass. There's Defiler of Dreams now. Attack all, put them to 1. Okay, Extinguish the Light. Goodbye Soaring Drake. They gain 3 as well, so they just go to 6. And here's Defiler of Dreams. Lightning Strike. This is just the all removal deck. They had the Lightning Strike that instead of our face though, which is nice, seeing as we're at 4. Oh my god. We really have to do that to him. Really have to do that to them. Arena really said, here's your next 2 draws, Defiler and then Defiler. Yeah, that was a pretty rude string of very good draws at the end for us. That'll find that victory. We will be 1-0 in this match. They have a ton of removal, so triple shore up. Big fan of that. Kind of awkward we didn't draw any shore ups last game, but we still got there, so can't complain too much. Shore up looks excellent in this matchup. Other than that, I do think our removal looks great in this matchup as well. Being able to like kill something and counter Hammerhand is awesome. There's a Cult Conscript, but we don't really have a sideboard against graveyard stuff. There's not really a lot of cards in this format that play around graveyard synergies. So we don't really have a sideboard. I think the most we would do would be put in more shore-ups, but we've got them all, so it is what it is. Could put Battle Rage Blessing in because they did have like a 5/5, but double blocking with like a 3/1 and a 2/2 was also like a fine way to try to deal with that. We only saw the 1/5/5, everything else was like a 3/4. Was the biggest other creature we saw outside of the Necromass. Although I don't have a lot of stuff that's big enough to kill that either. Yeah, maybe we drop like 1 Soul Tender for 1 Battle Rage Blessing or something. That's probably fine. Although Soul Tender was pretty pivotal in getting us that win. Helped us make some blocks and get some value. Redraw and recast a creature to block with. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm putting the Soul Tender back in. Game 2 of round 1. Okay. Pretty solid opening hand. We do need another blue source, but keep this. Opponent is on the play, so we are on the draw. They took 1 mulligan so far. Okay, just 1 mulligan. Ooh, Tribute to Urborg is a great draw. Keep a 1-lander here. Probably just didn't want to mold a 5. I have definitely done that as well. If I had a bunch of 2-drops in the hand. Yep, looks like they just kept a 1-lander and got punished. Going to be a pretty quick victory in game 2 there, so we are 1-0 in terms of rounds, and the way that traditional draft works is it is going to be 3 rounds no matter what. Even if you lose the first 2 rounds, you still get to play a third, so if you're exclusively trying to play as much games as possible, traditional draft is a pretty good spot for that. Plus, it is traditional Magic the Gathering. It's the same kind you'd be playing at your local Friday Night Magic drafts, if you have any of those. Where you are best 2 out of 3 games where you get the sideboard and everything, so. Alright, 1 round down, 2 to go. Here we are in round 2. On the play, we've got a turn 2 Battlewing Mystic, a late game Defiler of Dreams, and a Tribute to Urborg somewhere in the middle. Got all three colors. We've got the one forest. Actually, we have two forests in here. For the bone rattles. Really great draw here. Now we're curving out with a 2-drop flyer and a 3-drop flyer. That is potentially an Essence Scatter, though. I could Shadow Prophecy instead to play around Essence Scatter, and I'm still doing something with my mana. And that helps make sure that I hit the 4th, 5th land drop for this Defiler. So I'm pretty fine with that. Yeah, we just hit these lands, I think. Get that Defiler mana set up. Fortunately now there's no way to play around the Essence Scatter. I don't have any other plays to do, so if they can scatter the Soaring Drake, so be it. The Soaring Drake will go to grave, but that will mean that Defiler is less likely to get scattered. Okay, they do not have Essence Scatter. They've got a forest, an island, and a mountain out. Now they have 2 islands, a forest, and a mountain. Maybe a lightning strike here or something. Silver Scrutiny, draw 2. Alright, so pretty slow deck from our opponent. We've got double Defiler. We're just going to start going for it. If Defiler worked on non-creature spells, or non-permanent spells, that would be incredible, where I could just shore up for 2 life. Unfortunately, it does not. It's their own Defiler, that's cute. Contribute to Urborg that to kill it and still hold up a shore up. It's probably the best play. Should be pretty impossible not to kill them next turn. The only way we don't is if they have a board wipe. We've seen 2 spells from our opponent's deck, so there's basically 0 information for sideboarding here. I think opponent mulled to 6, and then kept a little bit of a slow hand, and we had a decently aggressive one, so not much to say, not much to see when it comes to sideboarding. Scrutiny and Defiler. Scrutiny, like maybe we could side in a negate, because that is a high impact non-creature spell, but we don't have enough information to know, like, it could be a deck that still has like 17, 18 creatures and just happens to have like 1 really good non-creature spell, so where negate still more often than not just gets stuck on our hand doing nothing. So like if they cast like 4 spells this game and it was like Silver Scrutiny, Impulse, Scout the Wilderness or something, like 3 non-creatures in the Defiler of Dreams, then yeah, I guess I'd side in the negate, but I just don't think this is enough information. 1 Silver Scrutiny does not make a negate main deck, in my opinion. I think we're just running it back and trying to learn more about our opponent's deck in this next game. Even if we don't find the win here, at least we'll get a lot of information on how to sideboard. Another pretty solid hand here. We'll take this. Opponent takes a mulligan again. There are definitely more mulligans that are going to happen in Traditional Draft than Premier Draft. In best of 1 formats on Magic Arena, the game will look at 2 different hands and give you the better of the 2 hands in terms of mana versus spells. So basically if you're playing best of 1 draft, Arena gives you the first mulligan for free. But it does it secretly. I think it would be cooler if they just gave you free mulligan straight up in best of 1, instead of like hiding that information from you that they've got the hand smoother thing going on. But it's fine. But anyways, that whole that hand smoother thing. Okay, so it's an infinite removal deck, so I guess negates would be fine. Triple shore up is very good here as well, but I don't think we've drawn 1 shore up all. Oh no, I drew shore up last game. I could play the knight and an impulse here. I Anyways, what I was saying is that there is no hand smoothing algorithm in best 2 out of 3 matches on Arena. It just plays regularly. That's why your hands tend to feel worse in traditional drafts than in premier drafts. It's because Arena's basically already mulliganed once for you if you drew a bad hand in a premier draft. Well, Shore Up is good in this matchup. I'm tempted to take that, but it's probably best to just guarantee we're casting Defiler. Cast 2 removal spells already. How likely is the third to kill Defiler? I don't know, we still have Soaring Drake and Tribute to play, so I'm actually going to take Shore Up and... Oh, no. Well, that specific draw makes my choice bad. There's only one other card in my deck that costs 5 or more. But, I mean, this is still fine. I stand by it. We still have plays for now. And we can get these to draw removal, and then maybe the second Defiler, we get to hold up a Shore Up alongside it. Just go 5th land Defiler, 6th land Defiler, holding up Shore Up. Opponent is probably some domainy kind of deck that's got some big late game win conditions, like maybe try to play a Techiova next turn. I would love to save this Shore Up, but it's probably worth just saving the Drake. The sad part about this is I don't actually want to give the Soaring Drake hexproof here. Like, if I could choose not to give it hexproof, then the Soaring Drake would just win the fight against Prodigy and Prodigy would be dead, but I can't do that. 2 instant sorceries in grave, so Tribute to Urborg does not kill Molten Monstrosity yet, but it can kill it on blocks. I can make it a 1/1 and block with the Knight. So we just attack with Soaring Drake. I mean, Knight doesn't even attack well there anyway. Let's find out if this resolves before I declare blocks. This way, if they have a negate or a Shore Up of their own, they have to cast it right now before I throw my Knight under the bus. Primarily playing around Shore Up, I don't think they'd have negate in here. Okay. So if they have specifically Shore Up, then we're still good. But they could have Gaia's Might or something, that would be bad. They're in the think tank here. They're thinking a lot about it. Maybe they have some kind of trick, but they wanted to hold it for something else. Or they just don't. They could also just be sad. Pretty nice Tribute to Urborg there. Silver Scrutiny, draw 4. That's pretty big. Pretty big. They are definitely in the lead of card advantage. But now we've got Defilers to start running out. And hoping they don't have more removal, but they just drew 4 cards, so it's kind of likely they do. There's their own Defiler again. It's very cute. I contribute it again to have an exact loop of last game, an exact repeat. Ooh, a Bone Rattle for a Defiler back to hand if I get a green source. I feel like I have to just tribute and kill this Defiler. They've already drawn 1 card off of it. I don't think I can let them have more. If they have a Shore Up, that's pretty bad for me. But I don't have any way to get around to Shore Up later. So we just do this as soon as possible. Okay. Can't attack with the Knight anymore. They can double block and kill it with Vine Shaper. Electrostatic Infantry gets bigger every time they cast an instant or sorcery. 4 mana now, a Micromancer, very nice. That's probably picking up a Gaia's Might if they're specifically holding up a green. Oh, Tail Swipe, that's even worse. They have 2 Tail Swipes in there. Yep, that's rough for us. Yep. Prodigy and Defiler trade. Still at 8 life against a flyer, and another one off this Defiler. We're still looking pretty good. We have actually exact lethal next turn if they don't have another way to kill a flyer. Joint exploration, so they're digging. Scry 2 and draw a card. 1 to the top, not a good sign. They would not put anything on the top except something that would keep them alive here. So that means they have to have removal or a flyer of their own, and it looks like removal. Timely interference, yep, force it to block the electrostatic infantry. And die. That is super rough. Actually, if they don't play another blocker here, and they don't have another piece of removal, I could attack with Soaring Drake and Knight of Dusk Shadow if I draw a swamp. Actually, I don't even need to draw a swamp. I have 6 damage on board between Soaring Drake and Knight of Dusk Shadow as well. So I don't throw the Knight at the infantry. I could if I think they don't have another instant or sorcery to try to get that thing killed. But I think it's risky here because now if they don't have a follow-up creature and they don't have an instant or sorcery, they're just dead. So we're going to try it here. They have something holding for them though. But I'm going to try for lethal. I should have impulsed pre-combat to get a land guaranteed. God dang it. See what it is here. Of course, 4 damage to target. I should have impulsed pre-combat, picked up any untapped land, played that, and then double pumped tonight. Oh, it's Colossal Growth! Oh my god. I still played that play. I still should have impulsed first. I mean, I guess that I'm not guaranteed to hit a land in the top 4, but I still think I should have impulsed first to play another basic here because we really need 6 land for Bortuk, hopefully. Well, I guess if there was no green source in the top 4, that would have been really awkward. Get a 6th island or swamp. I really thought that was removal there. Probably. They were maybe banking on that. Really stalling it out there. But definitely was not going to scoop there even if it was removal, so. That was terrifying. They put the fear of God in me there. We are 2-0 though, heading into the final boss, the final round. If we can win the next round, the rewards out of traditional drafts are pretty huge. If we can win all 3 rounds, all 3 matches, we get 2,500 gems, 6 packs, and 2 play-in points. And that's what's really cool about traditional draft. Usually I play a lot of premier drafts because I do kind of enjoy ranking up the competitive ladder, trying to get into mythic, maybe top 250 mythic. However, I only like doing that when it matters, so I try to hit top 250 mythic whenever there's an upcoming limited qualifier weekend event, which there is not next month. Next month it is some kind of constructed, it's like alchemy or standard or something, so I don't really care at all. So rather than try to rank up by playing a bunch of premier drafts, you could alternatively just play a bunch of traditional drafts. And then anytime you win a traditional draft, you're just banking up all these play-in points that you can use for qualifier play-in events when there's a qualifier weekend that you actually care about. So that's pretty nice that they give you a way to like bank up all of your points for a later time. Like if next month's competitive format isn't one that you're interested in, like for me, next month I'm not interested in constructed, so. Pretty cool stuff. We'll see if we can get some play-in points here as we head into the final round. Alright, here we are in the final round of Magic. We're going to be playing first again, unfortunately, with a kind of must mulligan hand. I could get really greedy here, because if I hit one land, I impulse and try to hit the second, but that's a little above my pay grade in terms of greed. This hand's pretty dang bad, too. Probably get rid of Shore Up, because we're not going to have anything to cast it on until turn 5, turn 6. But we've got a Tribute to Urborg. Against early game threats, we have some big bombs for later in the game. It's a rough hand, but I'm not sure a 5-card hand is going to be that much better. We just have to cross our fingers and hope to draw some early game plays. Luckily, our deck has a lot of 5 and a lot of 2 and 3 mana cards. We have 5 2-drops, I think, like 4 3s. So we'll see how it pans out for us, but it's not looking great. Luckily, our opponent is mulliganing as well, so at least we'll both be down cards at the start of this game. Makes them less likely to have some kind of uber aggro curve to just kill us before we get to Defiler. Opponent does mull to 5, but they're on the draw, so not as painful as it could be. Alright, green-red. Sunbathing Root Walla, I'm just going to kill that immediately because I've got no action for quite some time. Let's make sure we're stopping all that damage. And we're just going to keep playing Shadow Prophecy as a divination, just draw 2. Alright, Salvage Mana Worker. They are green, red, black, and they have a Mana Worker out for fixing their colors, so they're probably quite multicolored. Might have been better actually to cast the Knight of Dusk's Shadow there. Instinctually, I was just being mana efficient, but with a Defiler of Dreams in hand, to where if this sticks around, we get to draw cards off of it when casting blue permanents. Maybe we should have just kept the blue permanents in hand. I'm just going to cast Defiler here because we have a Bortuk Bone Rattle to put it back in our hand later. They're down to 2 cards now. They're down to 1 card after using removal on the Defiler. We've got a 2-for-1 of Bone Rattle Pickup Defiler coming up as soon as we hit the 6th land. I'm feeling pretty solid about this game. But it can always turn around based on how powerful that last card in their hand is, or whatever they draw into is. We'll see soon enough. Oh, opponent might have gotten busy here. Yeah. Pretty soon I'm going to have to make sure this isn't my internet. It's a really weird time to stall out. Speed test. No, my internet's still definitely up. Okay, yeah, I think they just got busy with something IRL. Alright, they are back. Soul Tender and Knight of Dusk's Shadow. Drop both of these, so we might as well. Rager land. That's a little awkward. I want one of those lands. If they send in Mana Worker, I'll just bounce off the Knight. Glowstone Infusion, never mind. I guess I'll just trade with Soul Tender, which is fine, because Soul Tender gives us value even in the graveyard, whereas their Mana Worker does not. You can also just race. If they attack with Mana Worker, we're taking 1, and if we attack back, we're hitting for 3. Actually, probably better to race. Unless that is the last card in their hand. Awkward. They're hitting us for 2 a turn. It's actually still better to race. Now they're hitting us for 0 a turn. Actually in the lead on board now. They're drawing quite well. There's Lightning Strike to kill the flyer. Board states are pretty much tied again. now we hit the land for Bortuk, which should pretty much guarantee we've got this on lock now. Biggest creature on board, plus a Defiler to cast next turn. Alright, they hit a land drop there, beautiful for us. Now we've got an Impulse. They kill our flyer off of a chump, but that's fine. No blocks. There's Defiler. There's Steel Crusher. Hitting for 6 in the sky each turn. Second Defiler. Don't think that is necessary. I mean, they've already seen one Defiler, so if they have anything to sideboard in to kill this one, they're already going to sideboard it in. So I guess I might as well cast the second one. Okay, sure. I will kill a Steel Crusher and hit for 6. I guess if I paid life, I could hold up Impulse there. I don't think it's necessary. Probably safer to just hold that life. So they're at 7. They're facing 10 power in the sky. Tear Asunder to kill one of the Defilers. Now they're facing 6 power in the sky. Can Impulse for a shore up. And there it is. Again, I could not play this if I'm really concerned about them playing around shore ups, but rather just get the kill here. Get this one game on lock. So looking at their deck, definitely have removal. Definitely have removal. 5 removal spells. We saw 5 removal spells, some 2/2 creatures, and some 1/3 creatures, and that was everything that we saw. So honestly, we definitely don't need Battle Rage Blessings from what we've seen so far. Very, very happy with the shore ups, very happy with the tribute to Urborgs, honestly pretty happy with everything. Maybe with the amount of 1/3s they have, the Haunting Figments get a little worse, because when we're not casting instants or sorceries, the 2/1 body's pretty bad against 1/3s. I actually like the Soul Tender, because we don't have to attack in with this card for it to be good, we can still just hold it on blocks. And then just get the graveyard recursion value after trading it off for a 2/2 or something on blocks, so I don't think that's that bad against their 1/3s. But there's not much to side in. Toxic Abominations are good against 1/3s, but bad against 2/2s. We took a lot of damage that game. I think some extra life loss could be pretty painful. Could put in a gate just for countering a bunch of removal spells where they already have triple shore up for that. Doesn't feel worth it to put in kind of a more narrow version. Yeah, let's just run it back. Oh, best of 3 drafts. We are in round 3, game 2, and I don't think I actually sideboarded once. This is definitely a mulligan. And it's awkward, but it's a keep, I think. Yeah, we're getting rid of one of these lands. A little bit more double blue cards than double black cards. But I've also got a little bit more islands and swamps. And I have a black activated ability, so yeah, we'll keep double swamp for the Knight of Dust Shadows ability. Now I've got a Haunting Figment to cast first because my opponent has Mountains of Removal. We'll let them kill that first. Yep. Turn 3, Balduvian Berserker, welcome back. Aquifer and Knight of Dusk's Shadow this turn. There's the Lightning Strike. And a Steel Crusher. There's Shore Up. Fashionably late. Keldon Strike Team. Yeah, it's looking pretty bad here. Well, that's something. Soaring Drake. We can survive to when we hit Bone Rattle. That's a pretty big way to help survive the next combat. Just enlist with a Berserker here. Berserker shoots any target, doesn't it? If they had removal to kill Drake, they would have cast it already, but they could have a combat trick, but we saw 0 combat tricks last game. Yeah, they shoot our face if we block there. Guess I block Strike Team. Berserker's going to be a pretty consistent problem, though. Down to 10. Elder Dragon War, yikes. Well, now we've seen it. Actually, that was not horrible for us. It killed their only other creature for now. Not as bad as it could have been. Nothing to deal with the 4/4 flyer right now. Probably take the Knight over the Drake. Though if I take the Drake, I could stack up double Drake to deal with the flyer later, potentially. Okay, Negate might be worth running in here. Can counter Elder Dragon War and any of their Mountains of Removal. So might be running like 1 Negate over one of the Shore Ups. Send everybody in, drop a Soul Tender to block Berserker. Build our Defiler, a Shore Up, and a land. Alright, here's the 4/4 dragon. That is a great draw. That is an excellent draw. Deck just immediately gives us the gas. There's no hexproof spell in green in this format. It's in blue this time. Taking 1 on the crackback, I think I attack with everybody. Especially because if I just attack with Bone Rattle Drake, then Berserker trades into Soul Tender anyway. They just block all 4 damage from Bone Rattle and have Berserker deal 1 to Soul Tender when it dies. Alright, we'll go to 10. No gigantic haste monstrosities, please. Oh, that's borderline monstrosity level. 5 mana for Soul Tender. I could cast something that costs 3. Feel like I just pick up Defiler though. Could pick up the Knight. If I pick up Defiler, it's not castable here. If I pick up Knight, it is. be pretty bold, but I think I attack both here. Offer the trade of Bone Rattle into Cyclops. If they don't take the trade, then they're dead to the Soaring Drake next turn. And then I pick up the Menace creature. They're dead to the Flyer or the Menace creature hitting them. If they do take the trade, we know we don't need to hold up blockers, so then we can Soul Tender the Bone Rattle for insane value. So since they didn't take the trade, we can now bring back the cheap Menace creature, block if we need to, and if we don't, we're threatening multiple evasive creatures for lethal next turn. Feel like that's the best line there. Because it gives us a great option if they block and a great option if they don't. So how worried are we about them finding lethal off of this attack? They need to play a removal spell and a blocker now to survive. So I think I do block. Just to guarantee they don't just kill us there. Terra Sunder, alright, they're currently still dead on board. One final card in hand. Oh my god, are you kidding me? Smart play from opponent there. The only line they could have somehow survived. We've got a Vohar now. Can recast and extinguish the lights, and then we're in a top deck war again. I guess I shouldn't have blocked, but there is... The thing I was playing around is the double strike spell. There is a spell that gives double strike till end of turn. Only use Vohar's ability as a sorcery. I kind of feel like I have to use it right now. I mean... Vohar, if they don't immediately top deck removal, Vohar drains them every time I draw a discard if I discard an instant or sorcery. And then I can still recast one next turn. Okay, okay. Tribute to Urborg is huge. I can kill the Hurler Cyclops and keep Vohar on board. Or I could discard it to drain them for a life. Probably just kill Cyclops. Attack for one. Pass. And then I still have a backup removal spell off of Vohar if they play something really big and threatening. Sunbathing Root Walla, that's threatening enough. Yeah, that's essentially, well, I guess I see if I draw an instant or sorcery and they just die. But that's essentially 5/5. Not an instant or sorcery. I need 2 mana to sack Vohar. Essentially a 5/5 here. Tribute -5/-5 for 4 mana, or extinguish. I'd rather extinguish because I gain life off that. I guess I could have Phyrexian Ragered first, and then if I hit a different instant or sorcery, I could have cast that instead. But actually, I wouldn't have had the mana, so no, I couldn't do that. Alright, Warbrood is really bad for us, but they can't attack or they're dead. Unless they draw another blocker. Oh, Jesus. Alright. Did not hit another blocker. That's a flyer! Most stressful games of Magic. And we got there. That is going to be 3-0 in this traditional draft. We are going to get 2,500 gems, 6 packs, and 2 play points. Feels pretty good, just in time for server maintenance. Not get any sweeter than that. Sweet dreams are made of this deck, that's for sure. Excellent, excellent stuff. One final look at the deck real quick here. Really nice, just blue-black kind of flyers deck. A lot of nice evasive creatures for getting in the final bits of damage. The removal was great. All the card draw was great. The shore-ups were great, but we drew them so infrequently. We had triple shore-up, and it feel like we just never drew them in the early game when our opponents were throwing all their removal at our creatures, unfortunately, but shore-ups were still sweet. Everything in the deck was sweet and got its time to shine. Excellent stuff out of today's draft. Really liked the Bortug Bone Rattle Splash. That card's absurd. So here's our prizes for today's draft. And, oh, I didn't think it was going to close out of that. I was trying to click on the qualifier play-in tokens to do that thing where it, like, shakes them around a little bit. But I guess I'll just hover over this now. Those are the prizes we got. But that's going to end today's video. As always, if you enjoyed this draft and you'd like to see more like it, make sure to stick around on the channel. You can like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like the YouTube algorithm to send some more of these videos to you in your recommended feeds. Other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.